Welcome to Here We Are, Brattleboro's community talk show. I'm Wendy O'Connell, and today on our show we have Samirah Evans, Our Lady of Jazz. She's had a very successful career over the years, both in New Orleans and up here in the Northeast. She's been on stage with all the legendary greats like James Brown, B.B. King, a few of the Neville Brothers, and Dr. John. After Katrina, she came north with her husband, Chris Lanois, and to his hometown of Brattleboro, and she continues her smoking career touring in the Northeast. Samirah also teaches jazz voice in her home studio, and also she's an artist associate in jazz voice at Williams College. So here we are today with Samirah. Thanks, Samirah.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
It's great to have you on. It's great to have you on. And it's wonderful. I just love the fact that you went from New Orleans to Brattleboro. And was that quite a leap for you?
Yeah, quite the stretch. In fact, I like to tell people the story that my husband and I came a couple of years prior to visit Vermont. And I told him at that time, no way are we going to ever live here. I know that you miss your town, but it's not going to happen. And now I've been here since 2006. Katrina changed that for me.
Yes, it did. It did. And before that, you were pretty settled into New Orleans.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's my home. That's home for me.
Is it really?
Yes.
Yeah. You were born in Cleveland, Ohio?
I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, but I've lived most of my life in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And when you were growing up, did you have a musical family? Was there music around you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that is very similar to what's going on in New Orleans. A lot of the people who have made it in New Orleans come from musical families. Mm-hmm. You know, it's kind of handed down. And that's what happened to me. I was listening to members of my family rehearsing, preparing for their concerts, and it always intrigued me, but I didn't think it was something that was going to inspire me to do it myself. I just loved music because I was surrounded by it growing up. But I studied a little while I was in college. I took private lessons. But when I moved to New Orleans is when I was really inspired. Obviously, I mean, that's music mecca there, you know? Yeah. Even though Cleveland is kind of a music mecca too. We have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you know? But in New Orleans, I was surrounded by people that were telling me I missed my calling because I actually got my degree in marketing and sales, and I was in radio and television and film. And so while in New Orleans, my first job was working for radio stations. And I would do voiceovers, and people would say, "You're missing your calling. You have a great voice." But they'd hear me sing because I would also sing with people, you know, just for fun. And they said, "Why don't you, consider this for a career?" So that's what happened. I met my mentor there, and he taught me everything I needed to know about jazz, and that's how my career got started.
That's interesting.
I mean, I've been singing all my life. Like like we mentioned, I came from a musical family. So my father and we lived in Boston for a short time. And we'd sing on the street just like some of the folks do in New Orleans. And so that's kind of really where I got my start as a very young girl.
Yeah, that's performance.
Yeah, right. And so that kind of got me prepared in a sense. And then I took it a little bit more serious and started singing with bands in college. But when I chose it as a career choice was when I moved to New Orleans and I did my first gig at the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival with my mentor, Willie Metcalf. And being at the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, I mean, that's like a major coup to be able to perform there.
You must have been surrounded by everybody, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean, incredible.
Yeah. I mean, folks coming in from all over, legendary artists as well as legendary artists of New Orleans for sure.
And there were a lot of them that were still alive back then.
And there's still a lot that are alive now too.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking about that earlier about how there's a thing about music and mathematicians, and they both tend to live very long lives. And I wonder if you've got any kind of a theory about that, especially with musicians. I mean, for Mick Jagger to be out there at 75, strutting around, Leonard Cohen, there have been so many of them.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I am really inspired by my current mentor, Sheila Jordan. She'll be 90 years old this year.
Wow.
And she's traveling all over the world. Every time I look on Facebook, she says, I'm on my way to Italy, or I'm on my way to Spain, or I'm on my way to Belgium, or wherever she's going. And it takes a lot of you to travel overseas that way. I've done it myself.
Yeah.
You know, at her age, she's able to do it, and I'm sure the reason why she's able to move in the way that she does is because the music is keeping her alive and going.
Yes, and what is it about the music? Is it the energy? Is it part performance?
I would say, you know, it becomes your life. It becomes who you are. It's, you know, you embody it. And so, yes, it does give you the energy. It gives you something to look forward to. And, you know, and if you love it, I mean, to be in this business, you have to love it. And Sheila obviously loves it, and everybody loves her. She's the recipient of the National Endowment of the Arts, which is the highest honor you can get as a jazz artist. So she's doing it out there. And she's constantly getting, you know, honorary doctorates and degrees, and as a result of all of the teaching that she does too, as a jazz artist.
Yes, and that's another piece that we'll get to in a minute. You got back up here to Brattleboro, or you came to Brattleboro, and you settled in. And did you start, were you performing then? Did you have gigs lined up?
Oh, no. In order for me to have had moved here, Chris Lenoir, by the way, was looking for work because we were considering moving here as a result of Katrina, looking for higher ground. I always tell everybody. And the person who was interviewing him said, you know, Chris said, well, my wife is a jazz vocalist, and we have to make sure that she's happy when she moves here. And so he says, I got just the thing for you. The Vermont Jazz Center is right here in Brattleboro, and I know the director. So we came up and we met Eugene Newman, and I was thinking, oh wow, he's awesome pianist, and perhaps we'll work together. And we, you know, kind of jammed a little bit and enjoyed each other's company, and as well as, you know, performing together. And so that is what convinced me.
I'll bet it did.
That I could live here.
What are the chances of having a jazz center in a little Vermont town? It's incredible what he's done.
I know, when you only have a post office that has the scale that you still put your mail on to, you know, that really surprises me, you know, and to have a, you know, a center of that caliber in this town, yes.
It's amazing, isn't it, what they've drawn?
Absolutely.
You know, the people that have come in, and their performances are great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Legendary artists they bring in, yes.
They do.
Yes.
They do, and I think it's one of those, it's not a hidden thing at all in Brattleboro, but I think it's a place that a lot of people do not know about. You know, and a lot of people don't normally go to jazz. It's like opera. The Latches Theater now is doing opera in HD, and that's a whole new audience as well. You know, so it's amazing what's available.
Well, Eugene is definitely putting, you know, this town on the map in regards to jazz. You know, I mean, there's so many amazing jazz artists that come here.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Christian McBride was just here like last week or 2 weeks ago, and you know, major bass player. I mean, that's another major coup, I say, for Eugene to have been able to bring him here.
That's right.
And that's just one. It's just been so many.
Yeah, there have been. Samirah, I think the other thing that's really interesting is that you've done a lot of programs with music. How did that start for you?
Well, I have to say that I was inspired by my mentor in New Orleans, Willie Metcalf, because he started the Academy of Black Arts, and I was a part of that program, where he inspired, you know, dancers and singers and theater people, and he made everybody play chess so that they can, you know, develop their minds. And he'd go into the inner city and take teach the kids there and take them to the Jazz and Heritage Festival and have them do a performance. So I was always inspired by how he would pay the music forward, for lack of a better term. I'm not sure if I'm saying it quite right.
It's a good phrase.
But you know, and then I also had the opportunity to work at the House of Blues for the Blues School program. And there I would demonstrate, we were teaching people, you know, how blues began and how it transformed and how it also influenced the music that young people would hear today. And I was one of the performers in the program that would demonstrate the different styles of music from its beginning all the way to
wow, that must have
like
been
James Brown.
Wow, that must have been, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
That would be really exciting.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I've always been a person who thinks more than just going out and doing a performance, but creating something.
Yes.
And so one of the programs I started here was the Sam's Sunday Set and Shed. Sam's Sunday Set and Shed. And so I chose Sunday because that's when most musicians were available to be a part of it. And I would encourage mentors and proteges to perform a concert together. And then we'd open it up to a jam session. And why I got this start is because I had a young man, I don't know, he was a teenager, I guess, and he came to me and said, there's no place where I can perform. I can't go to the clubs because they won't allow me to perform there because there's alcohol, you know, so what can I do? So I'm a problem solver, so I wanted to create something where young people would feel comfortable and not be intimidated to perform in front of people. So they'd invite their families. We'd have a potluck afterwards, and the mentors and the proteges loved it because there was never really an opportunity for them to get together in a concert and perform.
That's wonderful.
So it was a great
opportunity,
program. Yeah.
And where did you do it?
I did it at Elliott Street Cafe when they were.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
that was a nice space for that kind of thing.
Certainly. And it kind of reminds me of, like, you know, when there was a lot of performances in cafes.
Yes.
You know, in the bebop era.
Yep.
So I thought it was kind of a cool way to present the
That's a
music.
great thing. That sounds like something that'd be great to start up again.
Yeah, I would love to do it when I get more time.
A little more time, right? Which comes to you know, teaching. Teaching at Williams and teaching private classes as well.
Yeah, I do a lot of that. I feel really honored that I have the opportunity to work at the #1 private liberal arts school in the country.
That's so great,
and work with so many amazing young students at the college. It's an opportunity for me to really see how I can help people to transform, and whether it's at the school or whether it's in my home. I've taught many people in my home at this point. I guess I've been teaching for about 8 years now. I didn't really feel comfortable to teach at first because I didn't really get my degree in teaching or in music even. My degree is in marketing and sales in radio and television and film, as I mentioned. But you know, Sheila Jordan, who is my current mentor, encouraged me to do it because she said, you've been performing for a long time, so teach what you know. And I've had a lot of vocal teachers and coaches, so I taught what they taught me and also what I learned by doing it on the job. And I'm always finding that every student has different needs, and it gives me an opportunity to really see, you know, develop my capacity to find out how can I solve another problem that I've not ever encountered before. And to see the students transform is just, gives me so much joy. And so I love, that's probably one of my greatest accomplishments, is to be able to use my skills to help others to find their voice.
Yes, and finding one's voice. Yeah, that's a whole other, and to have that expression where you didn't have it before.
Exactly.
And also, I'm sure, you know, for you as well, you know, to realize that you have that capacity.
Yes,
and
yes. And it's made me a better singer.
Has it?
You know, because I have to demonstrate what I'm encouraging them to do. And it also makes me work on my craft on a regular basis because I'm doing my vocal exercises with them and everything else that I'm teaching them to do. It's ingraining it in within my own life.
That's
and
right.
What I do as an artist.
And it's keeping you in shape, as
Absolutely.
they say, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
That's incredible.
Yes.
That's exciting. It's wonderful that you enjoy it so much.
Yes,
you know?
yes. And I appreciate Sheila for encouraging me to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, for giving you the confidence to go ahead and
Absolutely.
and realize it. That's very cool. And talk a little bit about your the groups that you've had with you on tour or in performance.
Well, when I moved here, I obviously had to start all over, my career all over again. You know, in New Orleans, I had a really great career. I was traveling all over You know, I did a lot of overseas traveling, and I worked and opened up for a lot of great artists, legendary artists, as you mentioned earlier. So I had to rediscover myself when I moved here, because, you know, just because you've been performing a long time doesn't mean that everybody knows you.
Right.
And so I moved here and nobody knew me, you know, so that was a little challenge for me.
Yeah.
So I had to find a band that would help me to continue what I had been doing, and I was really fortunate to find the cream of the crop of musicians in this area. Morel Sprague is one of them. He has gone on to study at the Thelonious Monk Institute under the tutelage of Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter and other legendary artists like that. So he's what I call my secret weapon. He's an amazing prodigy pianist. And then Michael Zotis, a great saxophone player. And Jason Ennis was my guitarist. A lot of people who are watching this program hopefully know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And Connor Meehan, I actually met him. He's the drummer that I met at the Vermont Jazz Center when I first went there for one of their jam sessions. And when I heard him play that New Orleans style, which he can do so well, I said, oh, that's my drummer. So, and let's see, bassist, actually, my first bassist, I was introduced to him. He's out of New York from Jason Ennis, who was living there. So I put this band together and called them my Handsome Devils, because they're handsome as well as they play very handsomely.
That's great.
And
I love that
yeah,
name.
so
It's
Samirah
wonderful.
Evans and her Handsome Devils.
That's right. That's what they're hers.
That's important. And when they leave me after we're done performing, they could be anybody else's Handsome Devils.
When they're on stage.
They're my Handsome Devils, right? And so, you know, and that's who I've performed with for quite a long time until Morel moved away to go to study in Los Angeles, and then now he's just called all over
really?
by so many great artists, and I'm so happy that he's spreading his wings and doing his thing. But we do get together several times a year to do reunion concerts with the Handsome Devils.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's
so
nice.
we're still connected.
Yeah. And Trailer Park? Was Trailer Park, have you performed with them?
Yes, I have performed with them. Trailer Park is a well-known rock and roll band, been performing for 20 years together, and we just did the Green River Festival.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, this year. And I also invited them to do my Leo party, which I do every year to celebrate my birthday and other Leos. I can't just do myself. I have to invite.
Leo can do it on her own.
No, I like to invite all my fellow Leos to celebrate with me.
That must be some party.
Yeah. All of our heads managed to get through the door somehow. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. I've been doing it ever since I lived in New Orleans. I actually did in Taipei one time. You know, when I happened to be there living there for like about three months. I had a contract there, and I did there, and I got all these cakes from all these wonderful folks who were just so generous there.
That's
it's like it was a lot of fun. But anyway, it's become an institution. It was an institution in New Orleans. All the great artists. You never know who was going to show up to jam, because I would always open up to a jam session. This year I decided to do it with Trailer Park, because Trailer Park, about them, when I first heard Trailer Park, I had been hearing about them when I first heard them. They reminded me so much of New Orleans, their style. Their style is reminiscent of the Iguanas, which is a really popular Tex-Mex band in New Orleans. Now, they're not Tex-Mex. The Trailer Park isn't, but their style is very similar. And when I first heard them, I couldn't stop dancing. I thought I was going to be, broken down for a couple of weeks because that's how much energy they pulled out of me.
Wow.
And I invited them to do a Mardi Gras show with me last year, and it was a big hit, such a big hit that the Green River Festival contacted us to come and perform together this year.
That's great. And where was the Mardi Gras Festival?
It was at the Shea Theater in Turner's Falls.
Turner's Falls, the new Shea Theater.
And the Leo party was here at the Stone Church.
At the Stone Church, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. It's a nice little venue, isn't it? Yeah.
So I intend to keep working with them as much as I can.
Oh, good. Yeah. Can you tell that quick story about the Stone Church?
Everybody kept telling me when I moved here, you have to meet Sheila, you have to meet Sheila. And I was like, okay, all right. So I had the opportunity to meet Sheila as a result of this show called The Beatnik Cafe that was produced by Tina Maya. And
out of where?
Out of Brattleboro.
Out of Brattleboro, really?
Yeah.
Man,
So she does a lot of work in Brattleboro. In fact, she supports the jazz camps for the Vermont Jazz Center in the summertime. She comes in, she teaches during that time. So anyway, so Tina Maya apparently knew her and invited her to be a part of this Beatnik Cafe program or show. And it was a musical, apparently, and she was hired to do the bebop music, and I was hired to sing the civil rights music of that era. So I wanted to really, being that I was meeting her for the first time, I really wanted to impress her. So because I was honored that I was going to be able to perform with her. Yeah. So anyway, I'm in the church. We're in the church where the performance was supposed to take place, and we were rehearsing, and I was singing "Mississippi Goddamn" in the church. So I did "Everybody Knows About Mississippi, God damn," and it was if some music went dun 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 pow and hit the steeple. What hit the steeple was lightning.
Wow!
And so broke up all of the the rock from the steeple, all went out in the street. But before we get to the street, all the lights went off in the church, and there was a current coming up the cord to the mic that I was holding, which was Sheila's mic, was her Neumann, and I don't know, it cost a couple of $1,000s or something. I don't know, it was very expensive, that's what I knew. And she goes, "Drop the damn mic!" And I said, "No!" And I pulled the mic out.
Out of the cord.
Just before, perhaps I would have gotten electrocuted, I don't know.
Wow, and that's where "Drop the Mic" comes from.
Oh, perhaps. That's so funny.
What a story, that's
but
crazy.
Yeah, so a lot of people wonder, okay, so what happened in the church? Well, that's what happened in the church.
You hit that note.
I guess so, and I think Nina Simone said, "That's how you do it, honey."
That's beautiful. What a great story. I think it'd be great if we could mention the Ladies in Jazz concert that you did.
Well, it's a series that I started.
Okay.
Yeah, I curate the Ladies in Jazz series, and it started when Hawks and Reed was the Arts Block in Greenfield, in about 2013 or something like that is when I started it. And I got the idea because I always like collaborating. Like I said, I can't just enjoy my birthday by myself. I have to collaborate with my fellow Leos. So, but I always loved singing with other artists. Just like musicians and instrumentalists like, working with each other, I like working with other singers also. And so the Arts Block wanted me there on a regular basis, and I was trying to think, what can I do to create something where people constantly come and see me? I would have to, always do new material. Yeah. And that would be a little rough for me to put my band through that on a regular basis. Yeah. So I came up with the concept of the Ladies in Jazz series to feature a female artist, whether they're an instrumentalist or a vocalist, and be supported by a band behind us. And it became very popular. Sheila Jordan was one of my features. Yeah. Wanda Houston, who I'm going to be singing with pretty soon here. We'll talk about that in just a bit, hopefully. And I think the one that was most prominent was the one I did shortly after the election, because one of the things I've always wanted to do was to feature an entire female band. And I chose to do it as an answer to the march, the Women's March, right after the election. And so I inquired with Clara Rainius, who's an amazing female drummer from the area. And she inspired me to contact folks from New York, where she used to live. And so we brought all these women in from New York. It was like a 6-piece band, including myself. And we did all female compositions. Wow. And we raised money. The money went to a women's benefit, to benefit women. It was Planned Parenthood of Brattleboro, of New England, northern New England. But the money went to the Brattleboro facility, who also services Greenfield, where the production took place, which is now called Hawks and Reed. Right. And it was so crowded. We also got Becca Ballant to come. I used it as a place to, platform for them to speak about the issues that were important to us as women. And Ellen Story from from Massachusetts.
Wow.
It was an amazing event. It was so well attended that they had to put a screen downstairs because they couldn't get everybody in the main auditorium.
Wow, that is so great. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
It's so great that you pulled that off and that people really responded.
Yeah, yeah. It was
Great to do it again.
It's one
in
of my
some way.
greatest accomplishments, I feel.
Yeah, because you had to do a lot of the producing.
I did
of
all
that.
of the producing. I had some help. Some people supported me, but for the most part, I did. I got sciatica in the process. It was so much work, and it was in a short amount of time too, because I didn't think about it till right after
That's right, because
the
you were
march.
doing it was after the march and before.
It was actually during the month of Women's Month,
Right.
celebrating women.
So you had to get.
So it was
some
all
kind
about
of
women.
march.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I only had a couple of months to pull this all together.
Great, Samirah. You've done so many. You've been in so many different places, and you've done so many different styles of music. I know that you're focused a lot on jazz, but I love that story of you doing having people go through different styles in that concert. How is that for you, doing different styles?
Well, I have to tell you this. Williams College hired me because I wasn't stuck on just doing jazz.
Yeah.
Living in New Orleans, in order to really make a living, it's important to be able to be versatile. And New Orleans is a place where a lot of conventions come, and they're always looking for dance music or different kind of music. They want Tina Turner or they want whatever, right? So I've had to learn to, be able to be versatile. And I also come from a family that plays different types of music.
Yeah.
My uncle has artifacts in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Really?
As being a pop R&B singer and bassist. So it's I've been always surrounded by different styles of music. But jazz is what I love. Jazz is my art. Where the other music is for me to make a living.
Yeah.
And also I enjoy doing it.
Yes.
But the art of jazz is what really moves me the most. Yeah.
So it's really from the heart.
All of it's from the heart.
Mind, body, soul,
All
heart,
of it
yeah.
is from the heart. But jazz is what I'm moved to do the most.
Yeah.
I've always been inspired by it from listening to Billie Holiday from a little girl.
Yeah. So we're going to be able to hear you very soon in concert locally.
Well, yes. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be at Next Stage.
Yay,
Really wonderful place to listen to music. They've done a lot of great renovations there. And it's a beautiful auditorium. And I am going to feature who has been featured in one of my Ladies in Jazz series, Wanda Houston. And Wanda and I are magical together, I have to say. And I'm really looking forward to the work that she and I will do together. We're doing classic duets from all genres, speaking of all genres and styles. All genres of music, jazz, blues, R&B, folk, rock and roll. You name it, you're going to hear it. So I'm sure people that will come that night will hear one of their favorite
that's so great.
Classic duet
that
songs.
Sounds wonderful. That sounds like something to really attend. That's great. And that's Saturday, November 17th at 7:30 at Next Stage in Putney, Vermont.
That's right.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great to have
and congratulations on your award.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah, that was fun. Thanks to all of you for being with us today with Samirah, our Queen of Jazz. That's her new title here, and we're gonna make that one stick. So thanks again, and tune in next week. We'll have someone on who will be talking about something different. Thank you.